Tuesday. We're live again on the Real Mission Impossible show. Today's guest is extremely special, but touching my heart because this is Dr. Mathew Knowles. Mathew, he's asked me to call him. He's the founder of so many projects in the music business, including Destiny's Child. You might have heard of Beyoncé. This is her dad, but this gentleman is an author. He's a speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's a philanthropist. But the reason we brought him on the show more than anything else, he touched my heart in the way that he's fighting cancer and raising awareness. I'd like to present Dr. Mathew Knowles. Thank you so much, Mathew, for coming in the studio today.
Thank you, Coach MJ. I like that bow tie you have on, man.
I appreciate that. I had you in mind with this, actually. We'll put a little showbiz on for you today.
I like it. I like it.
Mathew, when I was reading part of your story, I just was really amazed at such an interesting life you've had at such a young age. And I'd like to go back just to talk about a little bit about where you got started, because I know you attended a university. Was it one of the only white university that you attended? Tell us a little bit about that.
No, that's part of it, certainly, Coach MJ. But I grew up in a little small town, Gaston, Alabama, 1952. You can imagine what the culture was then. George Wallace was our governor. Segregation was a big thing. My mother went to high school at Coretta King and Andrew Young's wife in Marion, Alabama. So she must have been something in the water, because she picked up the torch of desegregation and integration. And when she moved to Gaston, she wanted her son, me, to have the best education. And so she put me, I'm a kid, so I don't get to make these decisions when I'm 6, 7, 8 years old. She put me in the forefront, and I attended an integrated elementary, junior high, high school, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga.
And this was, just for those of you who are historians, this also around the time of Ruby Bridges, where the National Guard and federal troops had to come down and open up a school for her. So segregation was a real problem, was a real thing, and it was really being fought back at the time that you were growing up. So that must have been just horrific.
It was horrific. I've been spit on, beaten, electric prodded. You know, most people don't know a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers were part of the movement. It wasn't just adults. It was young people and kids in some cases as well.
And so coming from those types of dynamics and going against the tide and finding a way to growth, finding a way as life finds a way, finding a way to get through that, you got yourself into college. And then what did you do there?
Well, I was the first in my immediate family, my mom and dad, to go to college. I had an older brother and a younger sister. A lot of my success, too, I give to my parents who were loving, who always told me I could do whatever I wanted to do in life as long as I worked hard and it was my passion. And so I played basketball and became pretty good at it in college and got a number of scholarships. And my mom didn't want me to go far away. I wanted to go to University of Denver, but she wanted me to stay close. So I went to University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Tennessee, we know for the football program, but Chattanooga had the basketball program. And I was 6'4" and a point guard, which is kind of tall. Well, it wasn't kind of tall, but back then it was tall for a point guard. And so played basketball there on a scholarship. My parents would have never been able to afford me to go to school like that. And I'm very, very grateful to have had that opportunity. And then transferred to my first Black school, Fisk University in Nashville. Played ball there. We won a championship there while I played there. Won championships in high school and all my teams. And it taught me a lot to be on a basketball team, Coach, to understand what teamwork means and the importance of teamwork. But every team has to have a coach, right?
Right. You certainly have been a fantastic one. We're going to let you unpack this story. After university, then, where did your career take you?
Well, while I was in Nashville, me and some of my fraternity brothers, we said, let's go to Houston because one of the colleges in Nashville was playing Texas Southern University. I'd never been to Houston. And we pulled up on Houston and all the tall buildings, and we were like, wow. And so that was in October of 1996. 1976. Boy, I'm dating myself. October of 1976. And that's when 3 months later, I actually, with no job, because I was with AT&T and the Bell Systems, didn't like each other. And I moved to Houston and got on at Xerox Corporation. And the rest is history. I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'd like to, but I just want to say this. It wasn't easy because we're still talking about a time in America where there's still this intangible or tangible racism. You've just gotten out of college. For you to tell somebody or talk to somebody that you're a college graduate and so many weren't, and they were white, you probably still had pushback there too, didn't you?
Well, the beautiful thing is because Houston was so oil related, and because Houston has so much money in the economy and in the corporations, you had all of the major oil corporation headquarters here. Affirmative action had just come out. And so if you were Black and had a degree, they were looking far and wide because you could get a job the day you got here because of affirmative action, and they needed to meet those quotas that government had given them. So Houston was a lot different than the rest of the country.
And so then you slid into Xerox, and you're certainly not a carbon copy of anything. Tell us how that worked out.
Well, what's interesting is I actually started out with a Pitney Bowes, the milling company. And on Fridays, all my friends would be happy hour. I found out just the other day, I was talking to a college kid. They were like, Dr. Knowles, happy hour, what is that? So anyway, Fridays we get together and we were just having a great time. And this short white guy came up to me and said, hey, can I speak to you for a minute? And I was like, okay, how can I help you? He says, I've been listening to you guys for about an hour. And he says, I am really impressed by you. How would you like to work at Xerox Corporation? And I'm looking at him like, this is a joke. Okay, there's a camera somewhere. And he says, no. And he gives me his card, and he's head of human resources. And he's 9 o'clock on Monday, I was there. And that's how I started at Xerox, by someone listening to our conversation and saying, I see these leadership qualities in you.
And at the time, Xerox was pretty much the gold standard for sales organizations in the United States, the training that they give or that they're very well known for. Did you go through that? Is that where?
Oh, yeah, in Leesburg, Virginia, many times. And you're right, Xerox was the gold standard. When it came to sales and marketing, nobody eclipsed the training that we got. And I still, to this day, owe a lot of my success to Xerox and this training that it gave me.
And that training gave you the opportunity to elevate yourself, not just from the people within your department, but you actually went up the ladder really fast.
Yeah, they had fast tracked me to go up the ladder of Xerox Corporation. And literally one day I was in the office. So I started out a trainee for a year because I worked at the #1 Xerox branch in the country in Houston. So you were a trainee for a long time. And so I was in the engineering department at first, and then I sold copiers for a year. And I was in the office late, Coach MJ, and I heard that ticker tape machine making all that noise in the room. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And I wasn't supposed to be in there, but I was a little curious. So I saw grade 11. I'm grade 4. And Xerox at that time, you were based on your grading system. And I was like, boy, going from a 4 to 11, wow. And then it was a word I couldn't even pronounce, zero radiography, sales and marketing position. So I went to the branch manager, And I said, you know, Worth, I would love to interview for this position. And he laughed for about a couple of minutes and he was like, you just got here. How do you think you're going to? That's the elite division of Xerox, the medical division. And I said, well, coach, I really would like to interview. He says, you know what? It'll be great experience for you. I'm going to let you interview. But what no one knew, and we had the Houston Public Library was literally, Coach MJ, a block away. I'd stayed in the library for a month, reading up on breast cancer, everything I could learn. And so when I interviewed and went up against these guys and gals who had been there 10, 15 years, they knew nothing about the industry, nothing about the modality. I went in talking about breast cancer and early detection. They went in talking about their success at Xerox as a salesperson selling copiers. And that general manager for that division loved that I had done my homework. Because in the medical division, there's a lot you have to learn constantly. And he saw the propensity for me doing that.
You took this discipline that you had from basketball, from teamwork. You took all of the things that you had learned so far and put it into this so that you would actually stand head and shoulders above everyone else in there because you prepared.
I was prepared. You know what that means in sports, being prepared.
Right.
So I was actually prepared, and I got the position, covered multiple states, covered 4 states, 8 years selling. And by the way, in 1980, xeroradiography was the leading modality for breast cancer detection. It was number one. It was the gold standard. And so I gratefully was the number one sales rep worldwide for many years in that division. And then the president of that division went to Philips Medical Systems. And now we are selling an array of diagnostic imaging equipment. But they had, the elite of all of that was their MRI and CT division. So I became a MRI and CT sales specialist. Went from copiers to the medical division of Xerox to selling MRI and CT scanners for Philips, again, covering multiple states, but really now in high tech, because this is first generation of MRI. So you have to explain about these spinning protons and the precessing rather. And so it was a different kind of sell than it is today, because you have to really know your stuff. And did that extremely well. And now, I'm having headhunters from every company calling on me because I'm the superstar basketball player there at University of Tennessee. We better get him. So I ended up my corporate career with Johnson & Johnson as a neurosurgical specialist, which was the hardest thing from an intellectual standpoint, because neurosurgeons are the highest paid. It's the hardest procedure. So you have to really, really, really know your stuff. And you got to forget, here's a Black man named Mathew Knowles that's walking in selling this stuff. That was new, because they never had seen a Black man sell those types of medical equipment and systems before.
Forgive them, for they knew not what they did.
Right.
So, Mathew, you reached the pinnacle in your career in the industry that you were in, and now you're standing there. Of course, there's a lot going to unfold in your life. What were the next steps that took? Because your life has been kind of a miracle here.
Well, the next thing is I'm having doing a medical procedure in the medical center of Houston, and after the procedure, I get paged over the hospital system. And I'm like, did they just call my name to go to the neurosurgeon's office? And I'm saying, as I'm walking to his office, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Did we lose the patient? Did all 3 of the things happen? I'm scared, man. And so I get there and he calms me down. He says, nothing you did. I want you to read this letter. And the letter was from the hospital administrator. And it basically said that if he didn't reduce his cost per procedure in the operating room, that he would no longer have the ability to practice there. And Coach MJ, that was the beginning of managed care as we know it today, where the insurance company dictate what your cost is. And what I sold, again, was a gold standard. And so those instruments were the most expensive. And so I understood that he had to reduce his costs. And so I'm walking into the lobby and I called my former wife and I said, I can't do this anymore because now I'm selling cost and I can't sell cost. I can't do that. It's got to be quality driven for me. I can overcome the objection of the cost, but I can't overcome if it's not the best. And so I had to start just really thinking through what's my next steps. I had given myself 20 years in corporate America. It was year 2021. And at the same time, Coach MJ, Beyonce was in a young girl group named Girls Time. And I used to just drop off at practice because we also owned the largest hair salon in Houston at that time. And so my wife would be at work on the weekends and I would drop off, go play some basketball, pick her up. And they get on Star Search. And so I go just to carry the bags, no more than to be a dad. They lose. And Ed McMahon, the girls are crying out, Mr. McMahon, what do I do? The girls, my kids are crying. That deep voice, I don't know why, Mr. Knowles, but everybody that went on here and you start naming people like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Usher, they all lost on Star Search. And he says, I don't know, but they go back, they refocus, they reorganize, and they make changes. And I just kept hearing those words. And that's when I transitioned. I didn't quit corporate America. I went back to college while I was still working and took courses in music management, music business, and production, so that I could make this transition into the music industry. And that's how I got into the industry. Managed care, wanting to, that wasn't my passion anymore. And I had to, redapt and modify and make those changes.
You did the exact same thing. This is your pattern. Prepare for the next level. So you prepared yourself by educating yourself in school, deciding what those courses were going to be, visualizing what the outcome was going to be, and you're getting ready for your next big leap.
And going to every seminar, Coach MJ, that I could go to. And I was that guy, the guy that's always asking all the questions. You want to go, shut up. I was that guy. Hey. I was like, oh, nobody else is asking questions. I paid $150. Hey, how about, what does this mean? What does this mean?
That's rich. I love it. I'm just an enthusiastic dad here.
Yeah. Yep, that's how it happened.
Wow. So then the epiphany then because you're learning all these organizational skills and how I guess production had to be part of this and marketing had to be part of this, all of that. So how did you put it together? How did you pencil out? You had to be sitting down at your kitchen table with your family and drawing out diagrams. Come on, tell us a little bit.
I did a lot of diagram drawing. I still do. I still do. So the wonderful thing is, I'm third generation entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship is in my spirit. Xerox had just really prepared me in sales and marketing. So I was really at an advanced level of the music industry. And when I got there, I realized that they were in the business of selling records. I was in the business of building brands. And so my approach to the business was really different than their approach to the business. And at that time, you get labeled when you're first and you're a parent. Parents aren't accepted a lot in the music industry. So if you're a parent, they kind of frowned upon you that you're a stage dad or stage mother. But quickly they found out. On one example, just quickly, the first single for Destiny's Child, we did a remix with this artist, well-known named Wyclef. At that time, you didn't put the remix on the album. That had never been done. You sent it to radio to extend the life at radio. But it was so successful, I was like, why wouldn't we put this on the album? We had time. And then I went to this company called Broadcast Data System, the satellite that goes around Earth that detects every time a song is played, elevator, restaurant, anywhere. And I called and asked them, hey, if I name the song the same, they have the same lyrics but different tempo, can I name one No 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 Part 1 and the other one No 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 Part 2, and would that count as one detection? They were like, Mr. Knowles, no one's ever asked that. We'll get back to you. They got back to me the next day. They was like, we don't see why not. Sound like a great idea. So because both of those versions counted, out of nowhere, Destiny's Child's song became #1, out of nowhere, because we were getting those double detections. And so I'm at a meeting and I'm sharing this with the president, and he tells the guy in the meeting, is that true? He was like, I don't know. He said, go call BDS. He said, oh yeah, they remember Mr. Knowles calling, Mathew calling them. And he was like, genius. So after that, I became a genius.
I'm the guy who paid $150 for the seminar. I want my money's worth.
Yeah. Oh, man. And so after that, I began to build those relationships rather than a traditional way of having a marketing budget from the record label. I went to L'Oreal first and say, hey, I would like to put the song in the commercial. I like to put the artist in the commercial. You have a $25 million marketing budget. I'm building an amazing brand. It's a win-win. Your audience is the same as ours. Your audience is female. Our audience is female. And oh, by the way, the songs are female empowerment songs. And you go back and listen to the early Destiny's Child songs, they were female empowerment songs. So girls, independent women. And that was strategic. That wasn't just happenstance in the studio. That was a strategy of having female empowerment. So we targeted our market. We had strategic partners, went on to do 18 different endorsement deals, Mercedes, American Express, Nintendo, Walmart. I could go on and on and on, building that strategic brand.
Amazing. No one had ever done anything like this in the music business. Absolutely not. You were the everything. You were the Mayflower of bringing branding to the music industry, because everybody else was all about hits, the hits.
Yeah,
and
selling records.
And you were about the long-term vision and value that you were bringing to all the partners that you were doing.
And I tell you one funny story, and that's when Destiny's Child did their last tour, and we did it with McDonald's. And so I had my first meeting with McDonald's, and I'm sitting there with the president, CMO, and I'm not saying, well, we're looking for this amazing opportunity, but there's one thing we have to talk about. Destiny's Child will not be selling hamburgers and French fries. And they were like, well, that's what we sell, hamburgers and French fries. I was like, I can't even imagine seeing Destiny's Child and hamburgers and French fries. We're about healthy living, health and wellness. I need you to create a salad. And so they created a salad at McDonald's because of that.
OMG.
And if you go look at the commercials, it's Destiny's Child in the studio. A guy comes and delivers the salad for them.
How about that?
And then instead of doing the hamburger and French fries, I then convinced them to let us go to all of the, they have these home for kids around the world. And the girls would go and visit all of these homes that McDonald's had for kids. And so we made it more about healthy eating and about the kids.
And sticking to your brand integrity all the way through, even
Yes.
such a with a mammoth budget that McDonald's has, I can just imagine their marketing guy going, "Oh no, no, no! It's fried. They got to have French fries in their hand. That's our condition."
Hey, that's exactly Coach MJ. Oh, they gotta have French fries. They gotta be eating a hamburger. Like that's not gonna happen. We might as well walk away from the table. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, no deal. And to, of course, everyone on your team who stood behind your good guidance and amazing. You had this North Star guiding you all the way.
Well, I had this supernatural, amazing talent. These young girls that were so passionate and willing to put in the work. Because, without the work ethics, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah. And where do you think, for example, your daughters got this from? I mean, it seems like they would have seen the drive that you have about work ethic and preparing. That certainly had to rub off to them. Anywhere else in your family?
Well, their mom had the #1 hair salon. And so we made our first $1 million, Coach MJ, in 1984, 2 years after Beyonce was born. Next years thereafter, in a hair salon in Houston, where again, we brought a whole new philosophy. Because after my research, the #1 objection a woman has going to a hair salon is time. The fact that they have to stay there for 2 and 3 hours, and sometimes 4. So I use something that when you go to the doctor, they gather your information, the nurse comes, takes you to the room, reads your temperature, gives you your blood pressure reading. And so when the doctor come in, they have this information. They do a diagnosis, and then they're in and out in a matter of minutes. And we use that same philosophy with assistants. The hairstylist never left the chair, and so the throughput was much faster. And we targeted our market, professional women making $75,000 or more. So I'm beginning, the more I talk here, this coming thread of myself.
Yeah, I mean, this is cutting edge. Sorry, I just couldn't that. But really, I mean, nobody ever done that either. Market research, databasing, being able to understand the processes of the customer experience journey. Amazing. No wonder.
Yeah, thank you.
Really,
But
really.
their mother worked extremely hard, and credit her also for the imaging of Destiny's Child. She's the one who helped create their image.
Wow, that's just, I mean, that's a story in itself. That's a whole other episode. I'm going to have to push on, though. We got Destiny's Child. I think then you could tell us a little bit about the journey that your children took, and then we talk a little bit about yours.
Well, I mean, the journey that the kids took is that, again, a strategy of Destiny's Child was each one of them would have solo careers. And so in between Destiny's Child albums, each one of the ladies did solo records. And so Beyonce started her solo career. Then Solange, my younger daughter, was a dancer at 13 in Destiny's Child. And so she always wanted to have her solo career. And so they learned from years on being in the industry and got better and better at their craft. And that's how the solo career started. And Beyonce has gone on to more Grammys than anyone on Earth, planet Earth, and has done a phenomenal job. And I'm very, very proud. Solange, equally amazing songwriter, writes a lot of Beyonce and Destiny's Child songs back in the day, and a Grammy Award winner on her own success, and done quite well. So that's part of the story I think most people know, the successes of both of them.
Yeah, what they may not know is that if they were to look back at your portfolio, the ripple effect that you had from all of the initiatives that you brought to the table, that you've somehow generated over $5 billion in income and revenue. And that's just phenomenal. There's some countries that never get to that point.
Yeah, I think McDonald's will say thank you. I helped them out some, and Walmart.
Yes.
All of those deals that we did, they all were quite successful projects and initiatives. Very proud of that.
And of course, that unfortunately, then we have to turn the page here, because one day your life changed. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So one day, just a regular day, 5 years ago, almost a month and a half ago, 5 years, and changing my t-shirt, getting ready for the evening, go to bed, and I look and there's, imagine a white sheet of paper and then take a red pen and put 5 dots on it. Most people wouldn't have thought anything about it, especially a guy. And so I didn't really get concerned. I thought maybe my wife had bought some new t-shirts and the threads or something. Second day, the same part of my shirt area. And so I asked my wife and I say, Gina, I see these red dots. And she says, wow, I didn't say anything, but when I made up the beds the last few days, on your side of the bed looked like these drops of blood. Coach MJ, fast, go backwards to 1980 in my training in the medical division.
Yes, you read all about it. You knew all about it. Everything. It was like you were Nostradamus on yourself.
Yeah, and I called my doctor, and he's one of the best, still is, and he kind of laughed me off, like, "Come on, Matthew, that I've never had a man ask for a mammogram. You're under a lot of stress. Come into the office. Let's see what's really going on." No, I need to get a mammogram. So he ordered me a mammogram, and the rest is history. I had male breast cancer, but then there was one test my surgeon should have given me, but he decided to give it to me while I was in surgery. And then when I got out of surgery, his office called 2 days after and said, he needs to see you in the office right away. Well, that's not good.
Oh.
I'm like, oh boy, that's not good. And then he apologized profusely and said that he gave me the genetic test while I was in surgery, and that I'm BRCA2 mutated, genetically mutated, which means I have a higher risk of prostate cancer, male breast cancer that I got, melanoma, and pancreatic cancer. And it's not saying that you're going to get it, but you have a higher risk. Obviously, that risk factor did happen with male breast cancer, which was a 1% risk. I've been in that 1% club all my life.
Lord.
1% kids going to all white school, 1% of the success I had in basketball, 1% the success I had in corporate America, 1% in the music industry, 1% in the medical of my personal health.
And 1% of making it out of your hometown. I mean,
and making it out of my, maybe half of 1%.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah. Amazing. And tell us, what was your emotional reaction when you got this information, when you got this news? I know there's an intellectual side of you, but there's the man inside has a heart. And
yes.
How did that touch you?
Well, that touched me in many ways. Fortunately, I had an amazing wife. I remarried an amazing wife that was there for me. The sad thing, but the strength, Coach MJ, she lost her only sister 6 months before I was diagnosed to breast cancer.
Oh, no.
So can you imagine this woman losing her 46-year-old sister with 3 young kids, going through that, and then finding out her husband has male breast cancer?
Yeah, it was like the carpet was pulled out from underneath her feet. She was falling through a void. She had nothing to hold.
That's why I always recognize this amazing woman that I married. So I had that support. I had family support. I also was going through a phase of therapy then because I went through, it was a part of my life that became unraveled. And so I knew I had to go get help. There was a chaotic part of me. And so I have built a great relationship with my therapist, reached out to him to talk about it. And I remembered this one thing as I was being rolled into surgery. I remember years ago in LA going down an escalator, a nun from Mexico had a jar, please give the missionary, gave me a business card. I didn't read it immediately, kept putting it in my blue jeans, the next blue jeans. And I read that card before I went into surgery, days before, and it said, pray not for a life free from trouble, pray for triumph over trouble. For what you and I called adversity, God calls opportunity. And I kept saying, what the hell could be the opportunity? What could be the opportunity? And what I came up with is I have a platform, and I can use that platform to bring awareness to male breast cancer. Now I'm using that platform to bring awareness to genetic testing. I was fortunate to be 1A when I was diagnosed, because early detection, because Xerox Medical had taught me the importance of that. And so I spread that word, everybody that will listen, the importance of early detection.
That's just incredible. What profound words that were on that card, and how you've turned that serendipitous message into you now being Destiny's Child.
Wow. Wow. I never thought of it that way, Coach. Wow.
It came back to you full throttle. The universe.
Wow, that just put chills. That just put chills over my body.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too, because it's clearly a realization. That's really what happened.
Wow.
God bless you and your family, and your courage for what you've gone through and what you're going through, and the journey that you're inspiring others to overcome. Because let's face it, we had a little bit of combo pre-show, and it was about how men face cancer, and there is a fear factor, there is a lonely factor, definitely the loneliness, and all of these things combined to what you're going through, just incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, thank you, Coach MJ.
It's been a real pleasure having you on, Mathew. I have to say, there's a lot more to you. You're just a bigger onion, and we only got a few layers off of you today. If you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I'm going to say we'd like to have you back on. We'll talk about some other things, including your advocacy. We want to get that in a big way. I thank you so much.
I'd like to come back. I'd love to come back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I just got to say this as a plug. I'm also doing things for kids. I'd like to send you a couple of things about what I'm doing for kids who have cancer, and I'll be coming to Texas. I'm in a fashion show in November. Yes, I'm not a fashion model at all, but I'm a survivor, so they're asking survivors to step up on.
You got to give me the date. You got to give me the date.
I got to bring you on stage with me. What are you talking about?
That'll be a lot of fun.
That'd be great. Listen, so much. Thank you so much for being here on the Real Mission Impossible show. Dr. Mathew Knowles has been our guest today. He is phenomenal. He's given us a little bit of an insight. What an incredible life. What an inspiration. Thank you so much, folks. Stay tuned. We'll drop the links on for his books. He's a speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's a phenomenon. Thank you so much, Mathew Knowles. God bless.
Thank you, Coach MJ. Thank you.